Thanks for joining us today, and we'll get started shortly.
Hey, Beth.
Hi, Joni. We still have a few people joining. We'll get started shortly. Welcome, I'm Beth Felsky, and I'm the Appointments Project Director with United We. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about appointments, boards and commission opportunities with Fort Worth. First, I want to thank the City of Fort Worth for partnering with us on this initiative and really appreciate all of your support, as well as our community partner, the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So thank you so much, and thank you for bringing additional folks and spreading the word about the opportunity to serve on boards and commissions. First, we'll start with a message from Mayor Maddie Parker.
Hi, I'm Fort Worth Mayor Maddie Parker. The City of Fort Worth has made a significant effort to increase the number of women serving on appointed boards and commissions. Right now, only 35% of our applicants for these important roles are women. Our partnership with United We and Appointments Project is strengthening our city by increasing the number of diverse women at the decision-making table. We also appreciate the support of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and their efforts to elevate opportunities to serve. It is a priority for boards and commissions to be representative of the city of Fort Worth, and I thank you for your time today to learn more about how you can engage in municipal government.
Really, once again, thank you to the mayor and all the staff at the city of Fort Worth for partnering with us on such an important initiative.
Hi, I'm Fourth Mayor Maddie Parker. The city of Fort Worth has made a significant effort to increase the number of women serving on appointed boards and commissions. Right now, only 35% of our applicants for these important roles are women. Our partnership with United We and Appointments Project is strengthening our city by increasing the number of diverse women at the decision-making table. We also appreciate the support of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and their efforts to elevate opportunities to serve. It is a priority for boards and commissions to be representative of the city of Fort Worth, and I thank you for your time today to learn more about how you can engage in municipal government. Hi.
As we get started, for those who aren't familiar, I wanted to talk a little bit about United We and our mission. And our mission is to advance women's economic and civic leadership. So, what exactly does that mean? So United We is a research-based, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization focusing on advancing women's economic and civic leadership through research, advocacy, and our appointments project. So a little bit about our research. We do that through town halls, status of women research projects in the states of Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And then in advocacy, we're working on several issues important to women: equal pay, paid family leave, childcare, entrepreneurship, occupational licensing, and policies for the veterans and military. And civic leadership, which is why we're here today, is what we'll be talking about. And our research really has driven our civic leadership initiatives. So Appointments Project was established in response to the research that really told us the need to increase the number of diverse women serving on appointed boards and commissions, and really reduce the barriers that are preventing them from doing so. So really making sure boards and commissions represent the communities that they serve. So we're going to start out first with a little bit of our research. So you can see some of the reasons cited for low participation include lack of confidence. Women are not simply being asked to serve. And then also time. Women really felt like if they served, they wanted their time to be used wisely. And when they do serve, wanted to really feel a sense of belonging. And we do know that when they are serving, there's positive impact in communities. So we know it really increases the public trust in government, boosts efficiency, and really improves the lives of residents, as well as really driving innovation in a community. We also really continue to take a deeper look at power boards. So what we're finding is, as women serve on boards, there seem to be some stereotypical female boards that women are serving on. So these boards and commissions that have decision-making authority, financial allocations, and influence making policies that affect the majority of the community. So we're talking about boards, for example, planning and zoning and these power boards. We have some research that tells us in studies of Idaho and Iowa, women disproportionately serve on boards and commissions. And so boards like historic preservation, libraries, human services, and in those type of boards, you can see. In Kansas, we know that 38% of appointees on power boards are women. And in Missouri cities, we know that 33.15% of women on economic development boards are women, and 25.18% on planning and zoning. So you can kind of see why there's such a need for more women to serve on these particular boards. And these are boards that have impact on policy and allocation of resources and a variety of issues. So as you consider board service, we really encourage you to look at these boards. I'm going to now turn it over to Tammy Costello to talk specifically about boards and some of the stats and data we have from Fort Worth. Tammy?
Okay, can you hear me, Beth?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us today. My name is Tammy Castillo. I am the Boards and Commissions Program Coordinator for the City of Fort Worth. I've been looking forward to this project for months, so I'm ready to get you familiar with what our boards and commissions are so that you can spread the word about what we do and what we actually need. So boards and commissions are basically made up of volunteers. So what we would like for you to do as far as searching and looking for boards and commissions you may be interested in is go to the city's website. It's fortworthtexas.gov. And if you'll go to the commissions page, boards and commissions page, you're going to see a list of boards or commissions that you can learn about, search about, get familiar with. To help you understand what those boards are. So I've listed them on the bottom of this slide. Those are the ones that we have with vacancies. And yes, that's all of our boards. So currently all of our boards do have vacancies. It depends on the district that people live in as to what vacancies are out there. And I'm going to show you some of that more in a second. But this is a place where you can go and read about the board. Understand what kind of boards are out there for different various types of things within the city that we need help with. So as far as the appointments, if you'll look at the next slide, go to the next slide. These are the vacancies and expirations that I was talking about. So this is a list of all our boards to the left. The next column over will show you districts that have vacancies. Now, when you go and search for boards, you can also go and search on our website or on the One Address Fort Worth website, to be specific, to put in your home address so that you can locate the district that you are in. Why this is important is because most of our boards and commissions do try to stick within their district when they're nominating people, so that it's a representative nature of what's going on in their specific district. So when you know what district that you are currently living in, you can see from this list which district is showing a vacancy for a certain board, and also showing expired terms for those boards. There's a lot of expired terms for the districts that are listed there. Our terms are 2-year terms, and you can serve 3 terms. So you can serve on a board for 6 years before you have to either be replaced, or you might find another interest in another board that you want to serve on. A lot of our members do that. They go from board to board because they know how we work and they want to help out the city. So our even numbered district boards, their terms expire on even numbered years. So we're sitting in an odd year, 2023. That's why you see a lot of our expired terms are in the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 districts and 11. So that's why the numbers are showing up mostly over there, because this is an odd year. I hope that helps explain a little bit about what we have as far as vacancies. The next slide is, we talked a little bit about this earlier, as Mayor Parker mentioned, our applicants by gender. 35% of our applicants are women. it's not to say that we don't appoint women, because you can see appointments by gender is around 40%. We would just like to see both of these numbers rise. So we're hoping with the correlation with the people on this call today is that we can get the word out to have more women apply from different districts and different backgrounds to the boards that we have available. And then our appointments by gender number will also go up. So that is a goal. Next slide, Beth. We always look at ethnicity too, just so that we know what's out there. We have, what is that, 5 or 6 ethnicity groups listed there. And we would like to see, obviously, every ethnicity group being represented on our boards, because not only does it help the district that you live in, but it helps our city as a whole, because we've become a much more diverse group, and making decisions to, move forward in really every aspect. So the only thing I would leave you with from this presentation for today is that you look around your district, your area, be positive, think positive about the things that you can do to make it better and to make the city of Fort Worth better, and think about getting involved in city government. And this is one of the easiest ways to do it. It is a voluntary basis. And like I said, it's a 2-year term. So it gives you a couple of years to get your feet wet, get in that board and see how things run and see how things go. And you'll know that you're making a positive impact on people, and you're going to help the mayor, and you're going to help the city managers and everyone plan to make things better for Fort Worth. So I encourage you to go to our website, fortworthtexas.gov, locate the list of boards or commissions that are in there, and see if you can find anything that's interesting for you, and apply. And those applications come straight to me and the district directors for every council member. And we read through those and see if we need, see if you meet the qualifications for that board. So it doesn't just go into a pile somewhere and never gets read. We're looking at them as they come in every day. So rest assured that your application will be kept for 2 years. And if we are interested in you, then someone from the district director's office will be in touch with you. So I hope that's encouraging some of you ladies out there to spread the word about what we do here in the city of Fort Worth, and maybe we'll get our numbers up. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tammy. And she is a great resource for you as you go through this process. And be thinking of any questions you might have. We will have time for Q&A at the end of this presentation. And really just a great resource for you. And kudos to the city of Fort Worth for their research and really just their streamlined application process. And we now want to feature a couple women that are currently serving on boards and commissions, and just an opportunity, for you to kind of get a feel for what it's really like. And so I'd like to introduce Marcia Kaplecha, and she serves on the Aviation Advisory Board, and Ebony Rose, who serves on the Community Development Council. So thank you so much for the both of you for taking some time today for today's webinar. And I just wanted to start, I thought maybe we could start just by telling us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the board you serve on. So Marcia, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, hopefully you're hearing me and seeing me fine. I'm in a temporary office. We're in the middle of moving here. I'm Marcia Kaplecha. I am the Vice President and Deputy General Counsel at Lockheed Martin Aeronautics here in Fort Worth. And I'm on the Aviation Advisory Board. And I've been in Fort Worth for 20 years. I can't believe I've worked at a company for 20 years, but that's how great it's been. And I've been on the Aviation Board now 2 years. I'm at the end of my first term. I have put in for another term. And I pulled up and I was just looking at our board, and I see that we have had at least 3 appointments in August. So we do have 3 more new people, but it looks like we have some other expiring terms. The Aviation Advisory Board is, we work with the city's Department of Aviation, who runs and oversees Alliance Airport, Meacham Airport, and Spinks Airport that's on the south side of Fort Worth. Each airport is slightly different. Alliance is the big cargo airport. Meacham is largely where there's business jets and other prop aircraft. And down in Spinks, they tend to have the smaller aircraft and then the smaller planes with general aviation. So now one would say I'm a natural fit on an aviation board because I work for an aviation company. And I think, and it was great when the opportunity came to me. In fact, it was our community relations folks who asked me if I'd be interested in serving on the board. And what likely happened was someone from the city had asked if we had some folks here at the company who would be interested in being on the aviation board. And I'm also personally involved in general aviation. My husband's a pilot and I have an airplane. We own an airplane. He flies it. I ride around in it most of the time, pay attention what's going on. So it was a nice natural fit. I think this is what Tammy was talking about is a lot of the board members on the city boards have a background in the subject matter that the board's involved in. I would, one might say if it's a board dealing with, any medical issues that might have some kind of background in that, or if it's an art related board that there's some activity or some experience in art. And so, we work with the city of Fort Worth, and we as the board members will help them shape and improve their budgets, the leases that are going on out to, other companies and members who lease space at the airports for all those operations. We look at, improvements, when runway extensions and, new lighting and the like. And we also look at their strategic plans. Meacham just went through a strategic plan review, and now we have a strategic plan review going on at Spinks Airport. So, we work closely with the city department, aviation department, and shaping that, and then they go and present their requests to the city council. And so we have a good working relationship. Also, many of the other board members are related to aviation. We have some pilots on the board. There is another Lockheed Martin, an engineer, and we have some that are just personally involved in aviation. Some are professional pilots and some are general aviation. So most of the members, I think, have something to do with aviation, and it probably does help when we're talking about those issues. And so, and also I'd like to say I'm very proud that the Aviation Advisory Board also seems fairly diverse. We have 2 women. We could probably have more women, but we have a good number of Hispanics, and we have African-American guys. And so it does seem like a nice diverse board right now. We obviously want to keep seeing it that way too, and get that diverse opinions brought to bear.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Ebony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the board that you serve on?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to spend time with everyone. I have lived in Fort Worth for 11 years. I work at TCU as a member of the Human Resources Department, and I joined the Community Development Council in 2018 at the appointment of then Mayor Price. I have been reappointed by current Mayor Maddie Parker and currently serve as chair of the Community Development Council. I will be starting my 3rd term on the council, so I've actually been a part of this particular group for quite a while and have learned a lot and a part of that process, which has been great. But just to help you understand maybe what the CDC does, we are really here to help set priorities for how the city uses and allocates our federal housing and urban development funds, most usually referred to as HUD funding. So we work most directly with our neighborhood services department over at City Hall. And really, we're here to look at city services, neighborhood programs, things that support affordable housing, improvement and access to community spaces, programs, nonprofits, services that benefit general well-being for our community. So we oversee funding mostly around the housing space, making sure that we've got adequate housing, affordable housing, working very closely with folks in the city, both at city, within the city departments and in our nonprofits who work with our unhoused population, looking at transitional housing, funding the building and maintenance of housing for folks who are in housing transition. We also help to support community spaces like community centers. So we have a number of community centers in the city of Fort Worth. It's ensuring that they are ADA compliant, accessible, that they are well programmed. We offer funding to support those as community and neighborhood spaces. Home improvement for homeowners who maybe need additional assistance from the city or for the government to improve their home, to bring those houses up to code, make those compliant for the residents. Anything in the neighborhood. So we sometimes are helping to fund parks projects in addition to other commissions or city funding. So it's a really lovely way to get to see where large sums of federal dollars go in your own community. And for me, I think it's been a really lovely way to expand my understanding of federal funding processes, city funding, city budgeting, really having that connection to how we work and support the residents and the capacity we have to support their needs in their neighborhoods. So really great board. Happy to answer questions as we get going, but I think that's enough for now.
Thanks, Ebony. And I think Marcia spoke a little bit about, what made her decide to apply and how that came about. Ebony, how did you get involved in actually, deciding, okay, today's the day I'm going to apply for the Community Development Council?
Absolutely. Like most folks, I moved to Fort Worth for work. If you didn't grow up maybe in Fort Worth or any of the city that you live in, I came here because of a job. And once I realized that I was going to be here for a while, that I was going to be able to put down some roots, I knew that I wanted to find ways in the city to get involved, to give of my time, my talent, my skills. And I was engaged in a leadership program at the time, Leadership Fort Worth, which some of you might be familiar with. And we brought in a speaker. The city secretary at the time came in and was talking to us about boards and commissions as one of our lectures during that. And I realized that would just be a really great place for me to give back at the city level, to be involved, to find some greater connection with the community as I was learning what it meant to be a resident here. And I actually have served on 2 boards. You mentioned earlier that folks sometimes board hop a little bit. It's actually my second board with the city of Fort Worth. But I figured out through that process and learning a little bit about it that it's just a really great way to feel some connection in your city and a great way to consider your individual talents. And Marcia, you talked a little bit about this, that the board is usually full of folks who have some connection to either that as an area of expertise or an area of awareness and knowledge. And the Community Development Council, for me, I'm someone who works a lot with social justice, with access, equity, and that's really what we're doing with those federal dollars, is creating equitable access to housing, equitable access to funding.
I love you.
And that's one of the things that I really looked for and how I decided to apply specifically for that board. Thankfully, at the time, there was an opening in my district. Our board, like others right now, as we've expanded in the city to more districts, had some openings and opportunities. And we too, over the last month or two, have had applicants come in and be approved by their council person to join that board. So we're expanding to align with the expansion of the districts in Fort Worth. And I'm looking forward to that. That brings more conversation to the table. It allows more input, and it allows us to consider how our federal funding can stretch fully across all of the areas that we serve within the city.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ebony. And my next question is, if you could just share maybe kind of a proud moment or real success story that your board has had. Marcia, we'll start with you on this.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, I couldn't make out it was.
Do you have a success story from serving on the board, or something that you're really proud of in terms of what that group has done?
Yeah, I think that I come on the board and I do bring the background of being a user at the airport as well. Like I said, we have a plane and we have our plane at one of the airfields. And we are not one of the big corporations and that tend to dominate some of the fields, like Alliance, like I said, big cargo field, and it's got FedEx and Gulfstream and Amazon and the like up there. And, Meacham's got a lot of the people who have the big business jets and they have big hangars, and then there's I like to make the little people, right? And that's like those of us who are just individual aircraft owners. And one of the things we had noticed, and I had noticed because I experienced it, is that, like, let's say fuel costs in our Fort Worth airports are higher than the average at all the other cities nearby, and certainly than around the country. And so, I've been somewhat active in trying to say we have got to bring those fuel prices down, because for one, folks who are sensitive to those kind of costs will go to Arlington or they'll go someplace else, right? They're not going to come into Fort Worth airfields. And we don't want to lose having general aviation at our airports, because for one, that's one of the big purposes of the federal funding we get, is to promote general aviation and accessibility to the airports by everyone and not just, commercial operators. So I've been sort of pushing the city to say we need to study fuel prices. We need to have presentations on it. I've had some other board members on board. I know they every time when there's a meeting, they're like, March is going to bring up about fuel prices, right? But it's very important, because it's already an expensive thing to do, is fly an airplane, and we can't make it so inaccessible that those who maybe just students starting out learning to fly, who will maybe someday be airline pilots, to the folks who just want to fly small planes. We got to continue to keep our airports reasonable and accessible cost wise. So I'd like to say I've become like, I'm the fuel gal. You talk to anybody to see where they're going. She's going to mention that fuel again. But like I said, others are doing it and we are looking at it. So in our strategic plan, Roger Venables, he's the director, he was like, they put in the plan, doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they did put in that we're talking about a self-serve fuel station, and that keeps costs down, right? It doesn't mean you have to taxi up and fill it up like a car, but self-serve fuel is always way less expensive than at a full service place. So we do have it in our strategic plan that we're going to hopefully have a self-serve fuel station at Meacham.
Hi,
We already have one down at Spinks, but it's at Meacham. All right, I think I hear another phone. Somebody on a phone might be talking.
I have her reserved.
So anyway, what I was going to say is that, so that's I feel like we are going to make big progress and try to get the fuel costs. And
How are you doing?
I'm sorry, if you could please mute.
Yeah,
We're getting some feedback.
Yeah, I think it's whatever shows.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm on a call right now, but I can. Oh no.
iPhone 101,
Sorry.
whoever that is, if they could mute.
Okay.
Anyway, I feel that's my success story, is I'm kind of like I guess the fighter for the smaller interests.
Appreciate that. That's just a great example of the work and the impact that these boards and commissions can really have in a community. Ebony, do you have a story that you'd like to share in terms of, proud moments or success stories?
Sure. I will say one of the great things about working with our neighborhood services team is they are a really well educated, highly capable, amazing staff, and they really help us with getting folks connected to that federal funding that we help to allocate. A large portion of that HUD funding that comes through every year is pre-allocated for the city, for projects that the city is overseeing that have already been established and have already been sort of vetted by council and are ready for use of those dollars. But we still have multiple millions of dollars that are tagged specifically for support and programs from city partners, nonprofit agencies, folks doing direct service work in the community. And I don't know if any of you have ever applied for a grant, but federal grant applications are tedious and difficult. the monitoring of those over the course of the allocation years, which for us it is also lengthy. It can be a real process. And for nonprofits who maybe are smaller or don't have grant writers, that's a really difficult thing to understand and learn in order to be eligible to get those fundings to put them back into our city services. So one of the great things we started doing just a few years ago was really offering training for folks who are applying for those federal grants to better learn how to apply for federal grants, what it looks like, what they might need, walking through that with members of our staff, doing an education program with them, offering some monitoring throughout the duration of their grant allocation so that they can have success in using those grants well, that when it comes to auditing processes later, that they are up to date and understand how to work with federal grants, which is only setting them up for success to apply for more grants later, for additional support to extend projects, to expand their reach across the city and across the county. So it's been great to see that. And we've seen organizations, nonprofits who otherwise might not have received allocation for really important funding and meaningful community projects because they got the training that they needed to succeed with grant, not just the grant writing, but oversight, grant management, and working with federal funds. I think that's just a way that we can see the work that we do within this one city board trickling into how our community is then impacted with other opportunities and other obligations throughout the city. So that's been great. I really love seeing those organizations come back, the successes that they have, the amount of people they've been able to reach in the city, simply because our team was able to offer them some education along with the opportunity to use those funds in really meaningful ways. So that's been great. It's really cool to see every year when we get to check in.
Appreciate you sharing that, Ebony, and just such a critical component of what boards and commissions do once again, and just really, you know, making that impact on the future of a community. So thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Ebony. And we look forward to having you on for the Q&A. And so for those who are attending today, think of any great questions you have for these amazing ladies. Appreciate it. Well, you are ready and you're qualified to apply. So we'll jump right into it. Wanted just to show you when you go to the Boards and Commissions website, really user-friendly. This is what it'll look like. There's the link up top there. You can see the different opportunities and where you can apply online. And once again, you know, Tammy is a great resource for questions in regards to the application process. United We also offers resources and a toolkit. If you would like to join our network, we encourage you to do so. We have additional programming as well as working to connect, convene, and celebrate with other women who are interested in serving in civic leadership positions. Also, we do have an upcoming event. This is just an example of joining our network, and we would love for you to consider attending our annual event, We Work for Change. And you can see here, we are excited to have Marla Eisen speaking as our keynote this year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over for our Q&A. And so if you have any questions, please encourage you to put those in the chat. And we're a small enough group too, so feel free to unmute. And we've got Tammy and Ebony and Marcia on the call, and would love to answer any questions you might have. Also, as we pop into our Q&A, I'll be sending out a quick survey via poll to get your feedback on today's program so we can make sure that we are meeting your needs. So I'm going to kick us off with questions real quick. This is a common question that we get, and wondering how much time you spend in terms of prepping or attending your actual meetings. Ebony, we'll start with you.
Sure, that is definitely a question I get a lot. What is the time commitment? Every board is a little bit different. That's also probably pretty important to keep in mind. That information's on the website when you go to look at the different boards, when they meet, where they meet, how they meet, all pretty important. For the CDC, we meet monthly between September and May. So we don't meet over the summer months, which I think allows a lot of flexibility for folks. There is some pre-reading for a couple of those meetings, or a couple of items for each of those meetings over the course of the meeting time, but those are pretty minimal. It's just some packets, updates, couple of things to come prepared for the agenda. Our heaviest lift is in the spring, where we meet a little more with a little more lengthy meetings, because that's when we're actually allocating those federal dollars and then suggesting that over to the city council for their approval. So those meetings can be a little bit longer. We meet in the evenings, 6 p.m. I think, and those meetings can run anywhere from 90 minutes to a couple of hours. So, and in the spring months, they might be a little bit longer, but we have plenty of awareness of the agenda and prep for that. I previously served on the Historic and Cultural Landmarks Commission. That commission met during the workday, and that was a different set of challenge. I think that makes it harder for folks who are working to participate unless you've got a good opportunity to leave your work in the middle of the workday. And those were very long meetings. So that's important. I think one of the things is you are applying for these boards and commissions is not just to find out when they meet, but the duration and length of each of those meetings. It makes a difference between an hour meeting that you need to be away over lunch or 4 hours where you're actually away the rest of the day. So that's an important question that I would just ask you all to consider as you're doing your own research. Think about the duration of those meetings, especially if they're during the workday, if you are currently working at a place where you'd need to take some flexible time with your work schedule.
Great, thank you. Marcia, what's your time commitment look like?
Yeah, so our board meets quarterly, and I suppose we would meet, and we will have special meetings if we need to in between. On occasion, there'll be some issue where we need to have a special meeting. We meet normally at Meacham Airport, which is where the aviation department sits. And we usually meet from 3 to 5 when we have those meetings. On occasion, we'll shift the meeting to one of the other airports so that we can also get a little bit of a tour while, like let's say an hour before the meeting, especially if we have a bunch of new board members, there'll be hey, let's meet, let's get a tour and get to know the airfield a little bit, the 3 different airfields that are in town. We will get a package in advance of the meeting. We usually get it at least a week in advance of the meeting, let's say, and it will be the previous meeting minutes. It will, which we all, look at and vote and approve on at a meeting. And then there'll be the new items, which will be normally some leases we need to approve, or some that the department is going to be recommending for us to have a concessionaire or a new tenant or what have you, or an extension of one at one of the airfields. So we can, and it's, it's doable. You can read that in advance. Now, then at the meeting, there'll also be a special topic. It might be a presentation on where we are in the strategic plan for a particular airfield. It might be the budget. It might be, hey, we need to spend some federal funds, and this just came out, and so they're going to talk about some federal funds process. We get, obviously in the field of aviation, most of the money comes from the federal government, and some from Department of Transportation in Texas. Then there'll be, let's say, a special topic might be on fuel, let's say, where what are we going to do about fuel prices, or what's coming up with some air show. There's sometimes the air show will be a topic, but I think it's quite doable. Yes, it's during the day. I think now post-COVID, most companies believe in flexible arrangements. So typically, my company is fully supportive of my participation on the board. And so I just go, and I personally try to attend every meeting. I don't think it's so that's another thing. Think about, attending the meetings, because it's hard if the board can't get a quorum and you have to shift the meeting. So, but I think that the homework is pretty doable, and especially the more you're on the board, you get into a rhythm of you see how they present it and how it goes, and you get used to knowing what you're looking at when you're talking about, let's say, a map of the airfield, and we're going to do X here. You get familiar with it. So the more time you're on the board, I think the easier it gets to support those meetings.
Great, thank you. A few questions coming in the chat, and I think, Tammy, this would be for you. What is the average age of members on different councils?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question because we do collect their date of birth when they do apply. Not a lot of data has been pulled for that. I mean, I can see that we do have some under 30s, and then between the 30s, 50s, 60s, we have, it's all different ages. We probably have some 20-year-olds, coming in to be on the board there. So it really doesn't matter how old you are or, anything like that. You can definitely participate.
And as a follow-up question, what are the qualifications to be a member in terms of college degree, current, position in terms of your career, or any thoughts on that?
Well, I know as specific as some of the boards are, like the aviation, we have a few that are very specific, and they when you fill out the application, there are questions for each board. So if you get in there and you see that these questions are, you definitely, don't have that type of experience, or you haven't been in that type of environment, you'll see those. It doesn't mean you can't fill out the application, but some of the boards definitely do have specific requirements that they want in their members. But having said that, it doesn't mean you cannot apply, because everyone can apply, not depending on your background, your schooling. You don't have to have a degree. We do check for conflicts of interest with our law department, and basically what they're looking for is, are you doing business with the city, or is your husband doing business with the city, things like that. And that also doesn't mean you can't serve on the board. I've seen recommendations come from the law department that basically say, when an item comes up on that board to vote for something, you can recuse yourself from those types of things. So it's very simply, because you have one thing that you think might eliminate you, it doesn't really eliminate you. It just means that you're going to be taught and shown how to recuse yourself from certain situations so that you can serve on the board and do other things.
That's a really good segue into the next question. So the question is, if I'm on the board of Fort Worth Metro Black Chamber and interested in applying for the Business Equity Advisory Board, is that considered a conflict of interest?
I would typically ask that we check with the law department on that, because like I said, there may be some things that they would require you or request that you recuse yourself from at certain meetings, but it doesn't mean that you can't serve on that board. So we always lean on the side of caution and just making sure that we are covered and you're covered. So that's definitely a law department question.
Great. Okay. Before I'll give a few minutes for any last questions. But before we close today, I would love, and maybe we'll start with you, Tammy, just to talk about, give some advice for the people on this call in terms of if they're really interested in serving on a board or commission. I'll leave it broad. So
okay, that's broad. Well, that's good, because I've been in this position for almost a year now, and I'm like its #1 cheerleader. I talk to people all the time. I go to events, I go to job fairs, I go wherever I can to just pass the word about what boards and commissions are and what they can do for the city. And I would just recommend that you get to know your councilman or a councilwoman, because we do have some councilwomen on the council, and just show your interest in things. And they might have a place that they're looking for someone, and they go, you know what, you would be perfect for this board, and they would encourage you to apply. And it's all about just meeting people, networking, understanding and learning a lot about city government. And we love to have new people up here at City Hall. We really enjoy meeting new people and just spreading the word that come to the city. You know, we really like y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ebony, advice?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest pieces of advice, and I think this is similar. I work in human resources. I'm always talking to folks about jobs and growth and development. I think when we go and look at sort of the opportunities or we see a board, we think, well, I've never done that, or I don't know anything about that or how to do that. Never underestimate your transferable skills. There is something that you can offer to any of these boards based on your own professional experience, personal experience, knowledge, awareness, that you are likely to have a skill that is super useful in one of these areas. And don't be afraid to apply and know that you can contribute that. I will always say this is, I will also say it's a great way for you to get to know your city. If you are someone who, like me, you get in your routine and you are really aware of the things happening in your neighborhood or your district, this is a great way for you to broaden that scope and see what's happening in the city of Fort Worth, to learn more about your neighbors, to broaden your own horizons around what is available for you in your city, how you can support and connect people to city services, options, opportunities. So I think it's just a great way to build your own connection to the city and to use the talents that you have. So absolutely apply to one of the boards or commissions and find a way to connect with the city.
Thanks so much, Ebony. And Marcia, what are your thoughts in terms of best advice?
Definitely do it. If you're interested, there's got to be a board or a commission that might be of pique your interest and where you could get involved. I love the city. I love Fort Worth. So I also love that I'm trying to make this the premier city that we know it is. And that, well, I guess the rest of the world is finding out more and more because everybody's moving here. We may need more roads and sidewalks and stuff like that too. So, it is a great way to contribute. It's a great way to do it, short of, wanting to run for office, which is its own, hassle, I'd say, and time commitment that I think that most of us aren't cut out for running for office. So definitely get involved, and we'd love to see some of you if you're interested in the aviation board or any of the other great boards. Make the city great.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Would love to see folks apply today. Couple last questions before we close out. One is, can city employees serve on appointed board or commission? Tammy?
We do have some city employees that serve on some boards. The liaisons, the secretaries that work for the boards, they are all members of our staff. And then there are people that are employees that are serving on boards. And I see the next question where they're asking if you can be on more than one board at a time. And we do have members that do that. So if you have interest and you have the time and you have the ability, please apply and speak out to your council member and let them know what you're doing. And so we can get you on board.
Thank you. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Special thanks again to the City of Fort Worth and Tammy for all your help with this initiative. Our appointees, Ebony and Marcia today. And once again, we hope you check out that website today after this webinar and find a board or commission for you. And for any additional resources, don't hesitate to reach out to United We. So thanks again, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.